I'm Gordon from the LegalTech Fund, and welcome back to another episode of In Studio. Today, I'm excited to welcome Greg from Wexler, one of our newest portfolio companies in the LegalTech Fund. Wexler just announced a $5.3 million seed round where we invested alongside a great syndicate of other investors, including Pear VC, Seedcamp, and Myriad, marking a really exciting next chapter in Wexler's journey. Since launching, Wexler and Greg and the team have grown from building a litigation chronology business to creating a full fact intelligence platform, helping firms surface, verify, and act on the facts that drive complex disputes. The company's rapid traction, global partnerships, and continued plans for U.S. expansion show just how quickly they're reshaping the litigation industry. We'll dive into how Wexler built its product, what's working in the field, some of the challenges, and what the future of litigation intelligence looks like. With that, let's jump in, Greg. Wexler describes itself as building the fact intelligence platform for litigation. For those new to the company, what problem are you solving, and why does fact intelligence matter in complex disputes?
Great. So first of all, hi Gordon. Nice to see you. I'm Greg. Yeah, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wexler. Really excited to take you through this. So fact intelligence is the category that we are creating with Wexler. I think essentially in complex litigation, just getting to the facts is incredibly challenging. It's incredibly time consuming. It's difficult. It's sometimes impossible with the volume of documents that, which is ever increasing in the, current landscape in terms of litigation. So what we do is we essentially solve the challenge of just how difficult it is to establish just the who, what, when, why, the really the deep factual matrix in any dispute. So that's any litigation, any arbitration, any regulatory investigation. And yeah, establishing the facts could not be more important. Most disputes are decided on a point of fact, and the legal question is usually applied after the factual question. So yeah, we're helping some of the most eminent, intelligent, nuanced lawyers on the planet essentially get to those facts more efficiently, but also more effectively.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. It's a great foundation for the business and where you are. Maybe stepping out to the industry, litigation workflows are notoriously fragmented, manual. Where help the listeners here understand like where the biggest friction is today and how Wexler's rewiring that process.
I think there's two main places we see this this use case being incredibly powerful. One is early case assessment. So we've literally just come off a call with one of our customers who said that essentially with Wexler, this initial case assessment, this basically clients handed over 1,000 documents. You have till Friday to get back to me with just what's happened here. Essentially, what's the scope of the battle ahead? Are there unexploded bombs in these documents I should know about? Where do we really need to build a big solid case strategy, and is this even a viable case for us? So I think right at the genesis, at the outset of a case, just getting to that initial understanding of the facts is incredibly difficult. That's where there's a huge amount of friction at the outset. And I think client documents are in all sorts of different file types. The facts are frequently buried at the bottom of page 1093 out of 2052. And Wexler doesn't just tell you that a document is relevant. It actually surfaces that key fact, that event, that allegation, and brings it before the user and actually tells you why it matters. Why does it matter to the outcome of the dispute? So first of all, genesis of the case, early case assessment, that's really, really important. And that's where there's a huge amount of friction in litigation. Then it's essentially the sort of deposition preparation, case strategy, second level review, trial prep. So Wexler doesn't just tell you if a document is relevant. So we don't do sort of core doc review. It's not a paralegal just spending 5 seconds on a page saying, yes, this is relevant. Yes, this is privileged. Yes, this is responsive to certain search terms. It's like, we know that this document set is broadly relevant. There's the meat of the case is inside these 10, 20, 30,000 documents. But actually, I need to build a cogent, coherent, winning case strategy. And that's the point, like winning, making sure that your attorneys are really armed with all of the facts to do their job better, to give their clients the best representation, and to stand up in court from a position of authority. And so it's that second level review, it's deposition preparation analysis right the way through to trial prep, all with a focus not just on efficiency, but on quality. So not just doing things faster, but actually finding things that humans are missing and surfacing insights that could be the difference between winning and losing, the difference between a reputation for skill and one for negligence, or a lawsuit and a reputation as being one of the greatest attorneys around. So yeah, right at the beginning of the case, and then second level review, trial prep, hearing prep, and deposition prep and analysis.
Love it. Maybe if it's possible to contextualize that a little bit more for us. Like
Yeah.
you're an early stage business, but man, you're growing quickly. You've been used in
Yeah.
a lot of matters. Any that come to mind where you can say how Wexler was used, and fine if it's anonymized, but how it was used and maybe
Yeah.
how it changed a strategy for an attorney?
Yeah, so I think we have this feature called inconsistency mapping, which is not just looking at the facts in a sort of naive vanilla way. It's actually looking, does this fact conflict with this fact? Someone said something in their deposition, fact checking it with the underlying documents. And we heard that basically a factual discrepancy was uncovered by Wexler, which the humans had missed, which led them to pick up the phone to their forensic accountant. And they used that throughout the rest of the dispute as like a core tenet of their case strategy, which they would otherwise just never have found. So that's a good one. We had another one where essentially there was an internal investigation, a regulatory investigation under incredibly tight timeframes. Like the time frame was 1 day, and they had to get back. They had to make the filing by 4 p.m. They got the email at 8 a.m. They came to the meeting at 10 a.m. with the chronology, the key facts, the inconsistencies, and then they were able to make the filing by 4 p.m. And they said, it's not just about subtraction. It's not about making things quicker. It's actually doing things that would just otherwise never have been possible. And so, yeah, those are two sort of tangible use cases. One, an incredibly short time frame, and one about finding an insight that the humans had missed, which was used throughout the rest of the case as a central tenet in that case theory.
Awesome. We've made it, I think,
Yeah.
3 questions without, I think, using the word AI, but so we're far due for it
Yeah.
here. But you emphasize human in the loop here, and that you partner with attorneys. Just talk about why that's central to kind of your platform, how you go to market, and in a world today where maybe not everyone takes that approach, or there's concerns out there when humans are not in the loop.
Yeah, so I think Wexler is fundamentally about the human verification of AI output. But the crucial thing is here, it's way fewer humans that are required to verify, but it's still absolutely vital that human is involved in that process, not just to make it accurate, because Wexler is highly, highly accurate, but it's more about teaching the attorney to become an expert at the case and an expert at the documents, and actually reviewing the facts in this way, seeing when things happen, looking at the sources. We've actually heard from some of our customers is not only quicker, but actually better than reading the documents cover to cover. So essentially, every single insight you'll see in Wexler is sourced not just down to the document, but down to the sentence. You can see exactly where it appeared, as it would do if you printed it out and reviewed it manually. But crucially, that process of working with the sources, verifying, helps the attorneys become experts at their cases. And that means they could speak to their clients from a position of authority. And it also means they're finding things that humans, as I said before, may have missed. So it's really a central tenet. And I think that's what AI should be. It should be an enhancer. It should be a collaborator. I don't see, maybe there are some legal tasks, in an enterprise perspective, which you could delegate entirely to AI, but certainly not in high value, complex litigation. I wouldn't personally let an AI agent run amok with, a 10-step workflow without having human oversight. And actually, it's really important for our customers that there is human oversight, not just for showing that it's accurate, but also you can say this is the thought process that got us from A to Z, not just the AI did it for me. So that's really important to us. There's still enormous ROI, enormous efficiency gains, but that human in the loop is incredibly important for verification, but also to help you become an expert in the case, because ultimately that's what we want. We want to empower the humans to be better at their jobs, not just to, automate the entire task away. So that's my profound belief about the role of AI in professional services. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper into the product now.
Yeah.
I can say in the short amount of time we've been officially partners, we've been blown away by the pace of development at
Mm.
Wexler. And I mean, I think we were maybe a week or two into our investment when you wanted to already go ahead and preview the next thing you built, since we had really evaluated the platform. And so just talk a little bit about that journey of where you are today from a platform perspective. Where do you think the product really shines, and where are you still pushing the limits, and maybe a little bit about what's next?
I think Wexler is incredibly powerful tool at the moment, which is producing incredibly good ROI and finding things that humans are missing, as I've said. Now we're looking to become a platform, to develop, to reinforce, to become a truly, multi-product platform, which can essentially help to solve any complex dispute for any litigator in any jurisdiction on the planet, which is ultimately our sort of product vision and overarching product strategy. So going from doing, like we always say, we're a scalpel, not a Swiss Army knife, and we're going to continue to be a scalpel, but maybe we'll become a surgeon's tray of scalpels,
Love
rather
it.
without losing that focus. We're sort of punching scalpels in across the whole breadth of the litigation lifecycle, not being a sort of jack of all trades, still being focused, but ensuring we have coverage across the entire lifecycle of the dispute. So in more tangible terms, what does this look like? Well, we've just released Wexler Real Time, which is pretty mind-blowing feature, if you ask me. It listens to audio while it's happening, i.e. in a deposition, hearing, mock trial, etc., and will ping out inconsistencies and contradictions as they're being spoken. So within a couple of seconds, if someone says something which conflicts with the factual record, it will ping that up. And it's only because we've already processed those documents into facts that we're able to do that. So that's just one of the things that we're looking at with manipulating the factual data. And then, as I say, becoming more of a platform where you can ingest, store, process, analyze the documents related to litigation rather than just uploading them for these individual use cases, is where we want to develop. And we already are developing. We're releasing Wexler 2.0, we call it internally, in the next few months, which is going to be essentially our platform where you can store, manage, look a lot more at all the different document types, etc., and then send them off to do different discrete tasks. That's kind of where we're developing.
I gotta say that that real time aspect got us
Yeah.
incredibly excited. And I think it's the combination of owning the documents, then owning the facts, and then being real time. That allows you to really drive value for your customers in a way that others can't if they're just there at the point of fact creation, or they're just there at kind of the document level. It's like that full spectrum gives you an incredible opportunity, and we can't wait to see how that kind of plays out here for you guys in the near future.
Yeah.
When you
100%.
when you have sold this tray of scalpels to customers, to use that analogy, talk about how you measure success. So you've got a signed contract. What are the things? What are the KPIs you care about from is it adoption, time saving, cost saving? Do you use the word ROI? Like, how do you measure it? Is it the same for everyone? Is it different?
It's an interesting question. I mean, it obviously depends on the quantum of documents you upload. If you're creating a chronology from 10 documents, the time saving is going to be less than 10,000, but could still be incredibly valuable. In some disputes, 10 documents could contain the meat of the case, and in others it could be 10 million. So we are constantly tracking ROI. We've actually just done a big exercise with a lot of our customers to evaluate the ROI across the year, and the time savings are in the realm of 70 to 80% across the life cycle of all the tasks that we offer. Yes, we're really tracking time saved. Of course, this is also about the time that's not being billed to the client, so write-offs, but then it's also about more successful outcomes. So, ultimately we want to help litigators win more cases. So, this is something we're tracking. It's not just about the pure metrics. It's also about the hearts and minds. It's about, is this actually helping me do my job better? Is it about me helping me to find things that otherwise I would have missed? So yes, we take a very keen eye on the pure ROI in terms of time saving, but I always saying, AI shouldn't just be about subtraction. It should be about addition. It should be about allowing you to take on more work. It should be about finding things you otherwise wouldn't have found. It should be allowing you to open up new lines of inquiry into this case that otherwise would never have been discovered. So yes, the metrics are important, but it's also about the opportunities that, having essentially 10 times as much manpower gives you.
Yeah. Given that, are there certain segments of the market where Wexler is resonating from a customer perspective, or for the listener, help us understand what that ICP is and where you're targeting?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we basically do big law or complex litigation, which is not what you're meant to do as a startup. You're meant to start with mid law or small firms and sort of work your way up to big law. But we've just gone straight in, like Clifford Chance, we rolled out and globally embedded into the global disputes practice there. Goodwin across the US, HSF Kramer. We've got some of the world's largest firms already as customers. Look, we're helping to solve the most complex disputes. The biggest law firms work on the most complex disputes. That's just how it works, and that's how we get great feedback, and we're deploying across many more am law firms at the moment. We're not necessarily targeting the kind of plaintiff, personal injury, or anything like that. Right now it's like big law, complex disputes. In terms of the type of litigation, it doesn't really matter. It could be product liability, it could be IP litigation, it could be commercial disputes, financial, whatever it is. The good thing about Wexler is no matter the fact pattern, it could be, a criminal investigation, a family dispute, where it can all be processed through Wexler. But yeah, in terms of the ICP, we're targeting big law, complex litigators because, we work on the most complex disputes, and so do they.
That's awesome. Well, when you made that bet to focus on big law,
Yeah.
from a product perspective, again, were there things that surprised you from that customer perspective? Things that you thought they would certainly ask for, and you made product decisions around that, and it turned to be not the case, or vice versa? What are some of the things that your customers are pulling you towards that you feel like Wexler needs to be delivering for them?
Good question. To be honest, we're really close to our customers, where we spend, the beauty of the feedback loop being smaller than as opposed with an incumbent, where there might be thousands of people working on this, is like they can speak directly to the people building the product, which is relatively rare in enterprise sort of software procurement. So we're able to speak to the users, we're able to speak to the innovation teams, we're able to hear what they want to see. And a lot of our product development has come from working closely with them in terms of building, for example, dramatis personae, which is like the key actors, entities, not just the people in the case, as well as the facts. The real time feature came from a request from one of our customers, and much more besides. In terms of things that surprised me, I don't know. Maybe I don't think I think we had conviction that this is a big problem because we did a ton of customer development. We spoke to a ton of people in our network. Like I personally know a lot of litigators in big law. My dad's a judge, and before that he was a barrister. I spoke to a lot of his peers and a lot of his colleagues, and we kind of had conviction that this was a big pain point. And we're happy that it was validated. Of course, there's been lots of tweaks that we've made based on feedback, and there's a constant refinement and iteration cycle. But that core conviction that facts are the most important thing in a dispute, and if you crack the facts, you crack the case, that's never wavered.
That's awesome. Well, let's change gears a little bit. I need you to pull out your crystal ball, and we're going to look forward.
Yeah.
5 years from now, like, what do you think? How do you think lawyers? How do you think courts, specifically around litigation, will look like 5 years from now? And if you think through a world where your concepts, your platform of fact intelligence becomes the standard, paint the picture of what that can look like in 5 years for a world where Wexler's integrated into the entire industry.
I think that we'll be able to arm every attorney with all of the information he or she needs to prepare the best representation for their client. And so hopefully it will be a more just and equitable system, because it won't be just about how many documents you have the, power or money to review. You'll be able to actually everyone will be able to review every document, and then it'll be about the strength of your advocacy and about the strength of how compelling your arguments are, and about what the fairer result is. So I think it's positive in that sense. I think it will also open up legal services to a market potentially that would previously not have been able to access those services. So I'm speaking to some of the big law clients, and they're looking at AI and saying, maybe we can take on more work here, work that would usually have been beneath our pay grade. So that's interesting. You could be represented by the best attorneys. You have your interests defended by the best attorneys, where previously it would only have been the preserve of the world's biggest corporations to offer that kind of service. And more globally, I think this isn't something necessarily that Wexler would offer, but in the UK here, we have a complete crisis in the courts, where there is just a huge backlog of cases that aren't being heard, and they're very simple cases that could be, massively assisted with this kind of technology to ensure that a fairer result and sort of justice is served. So, I think there's a lot of opportunity for reducing some of the strain on the various legal systems and the courts around the world, in the UK, in the US, and in other places. So, I think it's a positive future. I think fundamentally it's going to be less about who can stomach the biggest bill, and it's going to be about who actually can prepare the best and most compelling argument. And I think that's the future that we want to create, and I think it's the future that our clients are on board with.
I think we're certainly supportive of that vision. I think it makes sense. It's right. I think a world where facts speak for themselves, and we live in a world where litigation can be more equitable, and those that have been harmed have an opportunity to have the same uh, AI supported counsel and that can provide them world class services and support in a way that, as you mentioned, those that do have the budgets can have that support today. So look forward to seeing how Wexler becomes a part of that. All right, Greg, we'll finish up with one more. Again, in studio, we're really focused on the product here. If you could be world class at just one product capability, like what is the one thing that Wexler has to nail for its customers, to be successful? What is that and why?
I think it's honestly like we've cracked the quality already. You can't sacrifice quality, but I think scale is going to be huge for us. Like we already can do 100,000. We can actually do 500,000 documents per upload. But some of these litigations, there's 10 million documents, there's 20 million documents, there's like terabytes of data. Being able to analyze that quantum of documents without sacrificing quality and making it manageable is going to be a game changer. To get like fact level insights at the scale of the biggest disputes in the world, where there's millions of Microsoft Teams messages and documents and all the rest, that's going to be key for us. And we're already working on that. So we're aiming to get up to 1 million docs ingested per upload by the end of the year. But yeah, we want to get to 10, 20 and beyond. So I think scale is going to be crucial for us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Greg, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for spending some time out of your day. I know you're busy, but thank you. We appreciate the partnership. And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us in studio.